Well, winter's almost over. For some of us, it already is. Weather outside is getting really nice, and now it's time to bring out your spring comfortable maxi dresses. This dress can be done in about an hour or less. Very simple. So let's get started. Fabric I'm going to use to make my simple dress. It's like a rayon polyester blend. It's really soft. My fabric is 52 inches wide. You can use 45 inches, 60 inches, whatever the case may be. Now, mind you, you want the strips to be at least a few inches larger than the size of your hip. So if your hip measurement is a 42 and you use a 45-inch fabric, you're only going to have about 3 inches of play. And in my case, I want it fuller. So I'm going to use the entire width of the fabric. Now, as far as the yardage, I actually have 1.5 yards of this fabric. So we're going to start by taking your fabric and you're going to cut the fold open. You're going to turn it into 2 panels. So go ahead and cut your fabric right down the fold line. So now you have 2 separate pieces. So I'm going to take the length of the fabric and fold it in half. Okay, I'm folding in half and then I'm going to fold it again so it's folded into 4s. Now this just makes it so much easier to work with when you've got it folded into 4s. So just make sure that it's all even, your sides are even. Even if it's not perfect, it's still okay. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it in half. And this is what I call the quick cut. Because especially if you're doing something that doesn't have to be perfect, you can use the quick cut. So I fold it in half. And now that it's folded in half, the selvage edge and the center where the fold is what you're going to cut. You're going to bring them back over on top of each other. And then you're just going to cut down the fold. So now you have 2 pieces there. And here's the other half. And I'm doing the same thing here on the fold. Just simply cutting. So now you have 4 separate pieces of fabric. So let's put the 2 off on the side right now. Okay, so we're going to take 2 of our pieces and we're going to put them together on the short end. And what I like to do is the piece that has the selvage edge, I like to match those pieces together, and the ones that don't, I like to put those together. I mean, but you can do it any way you want it. It doesn't have to be that way. So right sides together, you're just going to line this up and just stitch straight across. And for my sake, because I like to serge and finish things off, I'm going to serge off the top. So you're going to do that with both pieces. Connect them both together at the short end. The 2 pieces have been sewn together, so now we have one long piece of strip of fabric. And you see I went ahead and serged the ends. So this is going to act as your shoulder. So we're going to take our pieces, now that I've got them all sewn together at the shoulder, and I'm going to place it on the mannequin with the seam going right here just across the shoulder. And I'm going to put a pin there to keep that in place. I'm also going to take the other one and do the same thing. Place the seam at the shoulder, right like so, and pin that in place. So now I'm going to come around to the back, and this is where I'm going to bring the fabric together just enough to give a little bit of opening in the back. So you know your bra line is about here, so I'm going to bring it just a little above the bra line, and I'm going to put a pin right there. And I'm not going to pin the rest of it, maybe put a pin right here, because what you're going to do is going to take this and sew this straight down. Same thing in the front. You can make the front as low as you like. So I'm going to, for the sake of modesty, I'm going to close mine up and bring it about right here. And the same thing you're going to do on the front is what you did on the back. I'm going to put a pin here, and I'm going to just sew this straight down. Now, when we come to the sides, this is where you determine how much of opening you want. And you might want to put it on yourself and try it on. So for the sake of me, I'm going to put mine right here. I'm just going to do a little pin mark just to kind of taper the bust a little bit. And so now what I'm going to do is from where that pin is, I'm going to start sewing here, and I'm going to do a back stitch. And then I'm going to come down, and when I sew, I'm going to come out into nothing to come from the bust into the waist and then down to the hips and then sew straight down. I want to show you what I've got so far. I went ahead and stitched down the front as well as stitching down the back, and then here's the side where the arm is right here. So what I did to get the armhole measurement, and this is where you can decide however you want to do that, but I personally started from the shoulder and I measured down 11 inches, and that told me where I want to start stitching to leave an armhole in there so it's a little bit loose. But also I needed to know how far in to come, so I ended up using a 3-inch measurement. So right here is where I'm going to start. Now to sew this, and I know my fabric is kind of busy, it's kind of hard to see this, but here's the shoulder and here's where I'm going to sew down. I'm going to show you how I'm going to sew this. I'm going to start right here. So where I've got the pin where I'm going to stop with the underarm, I'm going to back stitch here to lock it in place, and then I'm going to come down and I'm going to slowly, gradually go into the hip area and into nothing and then stitch straight down. Now, when you get down to the bottom of the hem, if you want to, you can leave a split on the side because it is a maxi dress. So maxi dresses do look kind of cute with a split. So you can sew it all the way up, down, all the way, or you can just leave a split. So I think in my case, I'm going to leave a split, and looks like I'm going to measure it about 26 inches. So I'm going to leave a 26-inch split right here. Now, since that's kind of hard for you to see, I'm going to draw you a diagram of what we're doing. So you're taking a piece of fabric. Here's our piece of fabric. And if you remember correctly, my piece of fabric was 54 inches wide, and it was 1.5 inches in length. So what you did is we just took this fabric, split it in half, and then in half again. So we ended up with 4 pieces of fabric. Then we took 2 of those pieces of fabric. Here's one of them here. Here's another one here. And we joined them together. We stitched them across like that, and that will connect and be the shoulder. Okay, so then when you've got 2 of those together, they're both connected, and you stitched across. So now you have 2 shoulders. So now when it's on the body, if I can draw a little mannequin here. So now you've got this piece of fabric that comes down like this, almost like a vest, like so. And then right here is where you're going to connect for your bust line, or the top of your dress. And then you're going to bring these 2 together, and you're going to stitch them down, all the way down. Okay, now mind you, you got another piece of fabric on the back that you're doing the exact same thing to. And right here is where I measured down 11 inches down here. And then I start stitching. So this is what my stitching is going to look like. It's going to be stitching straight, and then it's going to come down into the hips. So straight, and then come down into the hips, and then straight down. And then about right here on each side is where we're leaving a split. So that way you can kind of have an idea of what it is we're actually doing, because like I said, my fabric is a little busy. It's hard to see the stitching. I'm going to put a clip just here above the stitching where I stopped for the split. So let's just clip that, and I'm going to clip it straight to the stitching. Here's the armhole section. I know you can't see it because the fabric, the thread matches really good. But I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm just going to trim this out. That way you can get a better visual of what I just did. So now you see the armhole right there. Well, here's that little mark where I told you to back stitch. You're going to go and you're going to clip right up into that back stitch. That's going to allow the sleeve to lay down neat. So let me turn it and let you look and see what I'm talking about. Now that it's turned on the right side, you get a very nice smooth section right there where the armhole is. Now mind you, I'm going to cut all the rest of this off because you want that as small as possible. So when I serge, I'm going to serge that off. Now also, in addition to clipping to the little spot where you backstitch, where it's a curving, you want to also just do a couple little clips there. It's just going to make it lay smoother under your arm. My dress is finished, and I wanted you to see how it looks once it's been. So here you can see there's my sleeve, there's my armhole coming into the waist and out to the hips, and here is the front and the back neckline. So what I did is I went ahead and serged all my openings. I serged the opening to the neck, front and back. I also serged the armholes, and I also serged the hemline. Now I'm going to do a very simple hem, and you can hem it any way you want, but I'm just going to, since I've already got everything serged, I'm just going to turn the seam in one time and then do a top stitch, and I'm going to do that all the way around the dress, including the armhole and the neckline. You just simply turn the seam back so that the stitching is not seen, and you just do a simple top stitch. Here's our completed dress. As you can see, everything's been finished. It has a nice V in the back, a nice V in the front. We got a nice sleeve, and it's really flowy. It's really cute. It can either be worn just like this, or you can actually put a belt around it, and you can actually dress it up, dress it down. I think with it being very versatile, you can kind of do pretty much whatever you like with it. There we have our maxi dress. Try this, and I hope you make a ton of these for the upcoming spring and summer. Happy sewing!